This is the Central Florida Computer Society May meeting. Stan Wallner, our president, is here, but are currently unavailable. And our speaker today is Judy Taylour. And Judy is going to be talking about, Judy?
Tech essentials that you should know to make your computer experience safer and easier. Or
right.
Some sort of title like that.
All right, we'll go with that. And with this, a lot of you know Judy, so I won't go into a long discussion. She's the driving force of APCUG, and I'll turn it over to Judy.
Thank you so much, Huey. And I'm just going to share my screen. The presentation is brought to you by APCUG Speakers Bureau, a benefit of your group's membership. That's kind of semi who I am. And no matter how savvy we are, there are certain things we must deal with using our devices, you know, and we always don't deal with them in the most efficient way. We might be using Movie Maker like I am, and there's new ways to do things. And I just put a few tech skills together that everyone can and should, in my opinion, learn to keep their computer fast, safe, and easy to use. Please, when you are downloading software, you first have made a restore point, and you have remember to uncheck the boxes before you install that. There's lots of helpful apps out there, and we find one we really like. We want to download it, but the installers can be pushy. They have gone with other app developers, and if you download their apps in addition to the one you really want, you know, they think you need those, and it's just another thing added to your PC or your start menu or your browser toolbar, you name it. We really don't want that to happen. We don't want a new desktop icon. Some of us no longer even think about desktop icons. The big thing is they turn themselves on when you turn on your computer. And again, they're bundled with the app, and that app developer, if you download it, gets a few pennies for it. So I say, smell the roses, take your time, uncheck the boxes. Bob G says, Judy, just use unchecky and that will do it for you. But you doing something like that saves you the step of wondering why your computer is taking so long to boot up. Oh yeah, I downloaded something. And then you need to take the time to uninstall it. Be proactive and don't have to use those steps. Here's Adobe Acrobat Reader, something that I don't happen to have used for the last like 20 years, but it's just an example. And I thought I'll download it, and oh my, they wanted me to have the McAfee Security Scan Plus and Safe Connect too. And if I wasn't paying attention and just moving right along, I would have gotten both of those. I unchecked the boxes and was a much happier camper. This is a graphic from way, way, way back in the day, but we used it as an example to please be aware of what you are downloading. And you can see that when I didn't check the boxes, everything was pending installation, and I only theoretically wanted one of the programs. So make sure you download your apps from safe sites. You probably have different safe sites than I do, but these are the ones that I use. Don't forget to customize your browser. We customize our windows when we get a new version of it, and when we get a major update, we go back and check everything that we've customized, because sometimes Microsoft puts it back the way they like it instead of the way we do. You need to do the same thing with your browsers, whichever one you use, and set it up the way you like it so it's easier and faster for you to use. Do it in all of them. That's just Edge and Chrome, the two browsers that I use. So take the time to go through everything and set it up how you want it. Back in the day, we said, please never, ever, under penalty of the end of the world, use their password manager programs. Now, so to speak, the story goes, safe to use your browser's password manager program. If nothing else, use theirs. So what are your favorite utilities? Do you have some things that you just can't live without? Avast Malwarebytes, my can-do program. Private internet access is my VPN. I live and breathe with Patch My PC. And those are some that I just, really can't do without. Again, you guys are going to have different ones, and you really should share those so we all learn about what utilities other people are using and why they think they're so good. CCleaner, one of my go-to programs. I use iDrive as my cloud backup. I use Nitro PDF Free Reader and Bitly as a URL shortener. So update your software. We have software other than that Microsoft Pesky Tuesday patches and their updates they do. So you can use File Hippo, Ninite, Patch My PC is my go-to program because it's colorful. I don't deal well with black and white, and I really like this program. The past president of the Sun City Center group in Florida wrote about this in his president's column, and I trusted his tech knowledge and decided to use it, and I've used it. I know Bob G also has included this in his security presentation. It does it in the background. You don't know it doesn't degrade anything. You can set it up how you want it to go. But please don't forget all the other apps you have other than Microsoft. They need to be updated too. Why do you need to back up? Well, if I could see all you guys and I said, how many of you people back up? It's not going to be 100%. There's still going to be people out there that do not back up. They say, oh, I know I should do that. And I love the 70% of seniors would do it if they had someone patient to show them how. That's what we're here for. And I'm here to say hard drives really don't last forever. I've lost 2. My son-in-law has lost 1. So please don't think it's not going to happen to you. All your irreplaceable photos, everything can be totally gone. And that happened to one of my son's best friends. She got the black screen of death when she turned it on. Her computer was deader than a doornail. They lost all of the pictures of their 2 darling daughters, and they were both under 5. Everything was gone except what they could get back from the relatives and their friends. So you can reinstall your OS and your applications, but if you haven't backed up somewhere, somehow, you can't recreate things. So where do you back up? You can back up to an external hard drive, Windows 10 or 11, the cloud, you name it, whichever you like. I have redundant backup. It's on my hard drive, my external hard drive, and in the cloud. This is the old Windows 7 backup that you can access via 10. I imagine many of us have used this one time or another. And Windows 11, if you have not learned about Windows 11's backup, you need to do that. If you are using Windows 11, you should be using the features that go along with Windows 11. So if you haven't done that, check it out. Or you can use Acronis's Cyber Protect Home Office. Many people like EasyUs. I'm finding many APCUG people who attend our Wednesday workshops are using Macrium Reflect Free, and they think it's better than sliced bread. So the cloud, Microsoft's OneDrive, it's really not a backup, it's a sync program, but some people say it is a backup, so there you go. I get mine free with 365. So I can either say I'm paying to use 365 or I'm paying $70 a year for a different version of a backup. Google, Bill James backs up to Google. There's iDrive. You need to create a restore point. If you haven't done this, you should take time to do it so you know what to do. Everybody should use it, do it before you let other people use their computer. Daughter number two's mother-in-law came. She was an administrative executive secretary at Bendix, knew everything about computers, but Stacy let her use her computer while she was here. When Sharon left, Stacy had set up the computer with her account and her husband's account. Her account was gone. You don't want that to happen. So make a restore point before you, even if it's your favorite kid or your favorite grandkid, make a restore point before you let them touch your computer, just in case. You should do a restore point before you down any type of software, just in case. You don't want it mucking up your computer. And if it does, you just go back to where it worked within a restore point. And before you start doing a preventive maintenance routine, again, create a restore point just in case you goof up. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I deleted that. Oops. Hey, no big deal. Go back to your restore point. Don't forget your Microsoft Patch Tuesdays. Automatically download. Windows, do you have 365? I have that bundled with my patches. So if there's an update to the Office products, it all happens at one time. And don't forget to install them. I'm still on 10. I happen to prefer it. Windows 11 is my laptop right here to my left. And I hadn't used it for quite a while. And I turned it on and I had 7 updates. And it updated itself in no time at all. I just kept looking over, and when it was finished, I would restart it and life would go on. But please don't forget to install every single one of your updates. We know the deal. Restart now or shut it down and it will do the downloading. You need to think about changing your active hours. Do you say, oh my gosh, that update came and I'm working on this important document? Well, I have mine, my updates could come after 2 o'clock in the morning when theoretically I'm not using my computer. So I will go to bed. And when I wake up in the morning and I turn my computer on, well, I actually don't turn it off, but I wake it up by wiggling the mouse. I have my new updates. So they don't ever interrupt me during the day. So you need to think about setting up your active hours. And every once in a while, go into your update and security and settings and view your update history. Make sure that everything has been updated. You might find one sitting there waiting for you to do something about it. Or you might want to go into history and find out, oh my gosh, there's one that didn't update. Maybe I should try that again. Is your computer booting up very, very slowly? Well, maybe you haven't unchecked the boxes when you've installed new programs and everything but the kitchen sink is starting up when you turn it on. So you need to use your task manager and say, hey, I don't use that program, but maybe once a month. Why in the world would I want it to start up every time I turn my computer on? And if you stop that from starting up, your computer's going to start up faster. When I use, somebody invites me to a Teams meeting or WebEx or anything other than Zoom, you download the app. It goes right into your startup menu. They don't ask. They think you want to use it all the time. So after I have attended a Teams meeting, I automatically go into my startup and I disable it because I use it once a month with an FBI group I'm with. And other than that, I don't do hardly any Teams meetings, but it thinks it's the be all and end all and wants me to start it up every time I turn my computer on. So the old tried and true Control Alt Delete, how to get in there and just take a look at what is starting up. You'd be surprised what you might find that, again, you don't need to have startup because you use it once a week or, like I said, once a month. And you say to yourself, I'm really capable of clicking on the link to that and starting it when I need to use it. You can also use, here's your startup. And there's the ever popular WebEx down there. And so I just disabled it. Don't need it, disable it. Doesn't go away. If I need it again, there it is. And in Windows 10 and 11, you do it this way. You just toggle things back and forth. What do you want to start? What do you don't? The whole 9 yards. Logitech, that's my keyboard and mouse. Why in the world would I want the Logitech download assistant? I'm just, those are the only two things that are Logitech. I don't use Microsoft OneDrive, so I have it off, and that has a high impact when starting up. I don't need that. So, and the same thing with the Bing wallpaper. I don't use that, so I have turned it off. So you need to go through this and customize it how you use your computer and not how Microsoft thinks you should. You can also use CCleaner to easily disable, enable, or one-stop shopping, delete the program. So you need to restart your computer regularly. This is the person who leaves hers on until it says, hey, lady, you really don't have enough memory anymore that's viable, so you need to restart. But at least once a week, please. It needs a chance to perform its regular diagnostic checks and fix the issues before they become a problem. Your updates need to be installed. So please regularly restart your computer. And if you're not going to use it, you're going to go away on vacation. Of course, you're going to shut it down. I just continually keep restarting my computer because I use my computer on a daily basis. And we used to, this is why, should I click on restart? Well, yeah, it performs full shutdown before it restarts. So it clears the board, so to speak, and your hard drive comes back up, just the way it should be. So we spend money to maintain our car. We keep them in tip-top shape. We clean our closets. We need to clean our hard drives. We can use the Windows processes. You can automate it with CCleaner. And don't forget about doing the same thing for your smartphone and your tablet. Uninstall programs, they're all in alphabetical order, which is fine. But if you have a lot of things that you need to uninstall, it's easier to do it in date order. My oldest grandson years ago called me and said, hey, Grammy, there's something wrong with my computer. Can you come over and look at it? And I did. And I said, what's your problem, T? And he said, well, he played, the Steam, game type games. And he said, my computer is really slowed down. And I don't know, I don't really know why, because I haven't installed anything new. And so we went in and I started with the alpha, and I would scroll down and I'd say, do you use this? And he'd say, no. I scroll down, do you use this? And I thought, Judy, remember, do the install on sort. And with that, I found 6 things that had downloaded in the background that he was not aware of. And so instead of having him sit there while I went through the alpha list, I said, okay, those are the ones that you want uninstalled. And he said, yeah, will you do it for me? And I'm thinking, you creep, you're capable of doing it yourself. But I said, okay, Tyler, I'll do it for you. And he went off to do other things. And I sat there and installed quickly 6 things that he did not need to use. The old tried and true, right click on your C drive, go into disk cleanup, and follow all the steps. That's the way we have done it for 1,000 years. You can still do that if that's the way you like to clean your hard drive. And I would tell my students, I taught tech classes to adults for 22 years, and I showed them how to do it this way. And of course, we didn't have anything on the school computers because it reverted to the original state every time we turned them off. But I told them, when you go home, this is what you're going to do. And they had a handout with graphics. And I said, watch the green bar. If you have not done this before, I said, you might just want to get up and leave the room because it's going to take a while for the green bar to go over. And then come back in, and I showed them what they should check and all that good kind of stuff. And what blew their mind was when we did it in the classroom, are you sure you want to permanently delete these files? And they'd say, do I really want to click on that? So if you are, uninstalling, removing programs via disk cleanup, you need to think long and hard. Yes, that's exactly what I want to get rid of. And you're confidently going to click on delete files and be a happy camper when they are no longer there. Again, Windows 10 and 11 is called StorageSense. If you are not using this yet, you should learn how to do it because it is what is happening now. You can equate the way I just talked about to me using Movie Maker from back in the day. You might be very comfortable with using the tried and true way, but you really, it's now, it's new. 10 isn't new, 11 is. And you need to learn what they have to offer. You might say, I'm going to use the old way, but at least take the time to learn the new way. So this is what it looks like. Just a different view. They're into bars now and graphics and things like that. And I like to decide what I want to remove so I don't automatically turn it on. I might change my mind about, I really decided I don't want to remove that particular thing. So I do mine manually. But if you set it up and you're a happy camper with it, and you are sure that you're not going to think, I wish I think I want to keep that, then you're going to do it manually, or you're just going to go back in and toggle what you have turned on off. But again, scroll through the list. Take a look at everything and, do you really need your upgraded log files, error reporting files? No, it's only helpful if your computer's having problems. Well, is it going to have problems now, or is it going to have problems, 2 months from now when those don't relate? So if it's working fine, feel free to delete them. So again, you have to decide what you want to do. Check the boxes. Do you want to get rid of your downloads? I absolutely don't. When this first came out, Microsoft had checked on its own downloads as well as in the tried and true way. We used to do that. Checkbox was also checked. And apparently everybody had a fit and fell in it and said, how could you do that? I, refer to my downloads every once in a while because I really don't need them anyplace else on my hard drive, but I need them for reference for a while. And they changed their ways and they unchecked that box in both instances. But hey, you might not need downloads for anything. I happen to get, contest entries and all this good kind of stuff. So I need to keep my downloads for a while. So for me, that box is unchecked. But you just go through. We all want to get rid of our temporary internet files, possibly our thumbnails. Again, you read the description and you think to yourself, is this something I want to keep? Or is this something that I don't care? I'm going to check the box and delete it. Recycle bin. Are you one of those people who likes to double check your recycle bin before it gets emptied to make sure you haven't inadvertently put something into the recycle bin and that maybe you're going to use 3 or 4 weeks from now, and how it got there, you say to yourself, I have absolutely no clue. I don't remember clicking on that. But, if that's you, you're not going to check that box. If that's not you, you're going to check that box. And so on, and so on, and so on. And then you're going to click on remove files. And in my case, it would have gotten rid of 53 gigabytes of stuff. Or you can use CCleaner to do that. But again, when you're using CCleaner, you need to remember to customize it. CCleaner doesn't do everything that StorageSense does. But if you use CCleaners, you need to go through and say to yourself, do I want to keep my history? I do when I'm on the internet. Every once in a while, by golly, I will have to go back to a website that I can remember the content, but that's about it. And so I use my history. So I would uncheck that box because again, CCleaner automatically checks box that they think you should get rid of. But they're not you. You have to make your own decisions. And again, you're going to permanently delete them. And this was the second way we did it. And that, are you sure you wish to proceed? Blew their minds the second time. But I showed them the Windows way and how a utility that they could use would work. And your hard drive is your computer's file cabinet. I heard Bill Gates say that at a presentation he gave at one of the APCUG conferences back in the Comdex days, which is 1,000 years ago. And I happened in my classroom have a 4-drawer file cabinet right next to me. And I have lived by that comment, your hard drive is your computer's file cabinet. And my hard drives are all set up as you would Pendaflex folders in a file cabinet. That's the way my brain goes. And so when I would talk about this, I would take my hand and bang, over and hit the 4-drawer file cabinet. And I mean, that certainly reinforced them on what I was talking about. So I have folders, I have subfolders, so to speak, and I can find the stuff on my hard drive instantly. My last company, we were being bought by a Cardinal Health in Ohio. And they decided to sue us thinking they could get the stock price down. And every once in a while, the Department of Justice would get in touch. I was in the legal department administrator. I was in charge of the legal files. And they would say, we need all the files about such and such and so and so. And whether it was emails or whatever, I got the comment, we have never gotten stuff back as fast as you send it back to us. And that was because I didn't have to look all over the place for things. I had everything organized so I could go to it instantly. And if it was electronic, send it off to them, go to the file room, get a bunch of folders, have one of the secretaries photocopy everything quickly, and we would get them out within 2 days. So that's just the way my brain goes, but it certainly helps me find things quickly. And I use numbers rule. The folders that I use every single day, or almost every day, I have numbers by them. One is Golden Oak. I still leave that there, even though I don't teach classes anymore. Articles to go is where I put push articles that people send me. The next one's my computer club. APCUG, that has 1.5 tons of subfolders that makes it so easy for me to find things that I deal with. Jim Evans handed over our new website to me in 2015. And anything that I do without the Speakers Bureau is under that, because that was a new thing at the time, and so on and so on. So numbers rule. So anything, again, that I use daily, I up there at the top with numbers. So everything else is in alphabetical order, but I don't want to have to go down to N and look for N for new website. It's right here up at the top. And here's my Golden Oak. My subfolders, they're in alpha order, but these are the classes that I taught, and they're Golden Oak. So every time I taught them 3 times a year, I would go into the folder and I would check to make sure that I had the latest update with all of my handouts. My introduction to computers, that students went home with 30 handouts that night. And so I needed to make sure. So they weren't all commingled with every other full topic. So that's the way I organize. And I do, this is Google, and these are all the handouts and the subjects that I talked about when I talked about organizing your life with Google. And I do the same thing with my inbox in my email programs. And I have many, email addresses. I have a gazillion with APCUG. I have a personal one, the computer club one, and they all have, folders, so to speak. They're not called folders in Google. They're called labels. But if the digital photo contest, this shows you the 2020, And here's all the entries for the 2020 contest. When I would get an entry, Bill James would get the email, I get the email, I'd say thank you, and I would immediately move it over to the appropriate folder. It was same thing with the membership, same thing with the Speakers Bureau. Stan sends a Speakers Bureau request in, I say, I forward it on to somebody else after telling him thank you, or in my case, I reply back. Both emails, his request, my reply, or the other speaker's reply, go into my Speakers Bureau folder. And every once in a while, I will have somebody say, I haven't heard from the XYZ person that I requested. And so I quickly go into my Speakers Bureau folder, and there it is. Okay. So you know the drill, protect yourself from malware. Those are some of the, the crummy stuff that we have to deal with on a daily basis. The potentially unwanted programs, that's one thing that Malwarebytes always finds. And that's what Tyler had with those 6 apps that had downloaded in the background, potentially unwanted programs. He didn't want them. So we've heard this a gazillion times. Make sure you have a good security program. Above all, keep it updated. And if you want to compare security programs, you might want to check out AV Comparatives. I have used this for years. They're a nonprofit. They're like, for back in the day, the Smart Computing magazine that we loved, because when they reviewed something, in the next few pages, you did not find a full page ad for what they had reviewed. They were just neutral. They weren't, triggered to give a good review because they got a gazillion dollars for a full page ad. AV Comparatives is a nonprofit, and these are the kinds of things that they test for. Now they've even added Internet of Things, and they can tell you all about it. These are the tests that they run. They have a false alarm test. Oops, we marked it as a phishing, but it's not really. And this was in June of 22. And these are the top, in their estimation, from their testing of all of them, taking them through a whole rigmarole of different types of tests. You see the 3 Avast products are right there, including AVG, which for all intents and purposes, I guess is AVS, Avast with a different name. But there's the, Windows, then this is for Windows 10. They do them for Windows 11, the same thing. But check this out if you're curious about how your security program rates when it's run through all of the tests that they do. And they do this probably reporting out, I'm going to say at least 4 times a year, quarterly, and then an overall one for the year. Please don't forget to check your firewall. I've used Shields Up for 1,000 years. That's Gibson Research, and Steve Gibson is so pro user groups. He's in Orange County. And you check and make sure that all of your ports are closed. You don't want a red one. Every single year when I went into school in September, and I would turn the computer on and I would run it through Shields Up, the Heart District had an open port. I would, take a screenshot of it back in the day, send it to the IT department and say, the firewall has one port that is opened. They didn't know what I was talking about. And I'm thinking, here I am, just this little old lady teaching these classes, and why do I know more than the IT department does? I did this year after year, and finally, with one of the years, I went in and they had hired all new IT people, and all the ports were green. It was finally closed. But just for grins, check it out. Make sure that all your ports are green, that they are closed. And he has a lot of other stuff at his website that you might enjoy looking at and going through. Make sure your router password has been changed. Make sure you make it strong when your router is comes to you. Sometimes they all have admin, and anybody in their any of the bad actors and regular people know, hey, I wonder if their router password is still admin. So change it. And the infamous Edward Snowden said, if the government had used passphrases, I couldn't have got in and stolen all that material I did. So I last gave this presentation a couple of weeks ago to the CENTCOM group, and I would say CFCS and with a number sign, and the day that you meet, what is this, the second Sunday of the month, and that's a passphrase. You can have spaces, you can have lowercase, uppercase, you name it. Please learn to use two-factor authentication. I cannot do any banking with my credit union without using two-factor authentication on their end. And I log in, and it says, how do you want to, get your secret code that you have to get because we really don't think it's you. And I prefer a phone call because I never access my bank except sitting here in my family room using this computer. And I just have the phone there, and it tells me put this 6 digits in, and I'm off and running. But you can set it up for a lot of different things. Like I say, banking institution, things like that. They require you to have 2FA. Google would love for everybody to have their 2FA on their Gmail accounts. They think the world is safer, along with the European Union, if all the websites are HTTPS. So I hope you check your group's websites to make sure you are a secure site, HTTPS, because it looks kind of silly for a tech club to have a not secured to the left of their address in a browser. But again, think about 2FA, and over time, Google says they're going to set it up for everybody. And they've done it for a gazillion people. I haven't had it happen to me, but you can opt out of it if one day, you wake up and all of a sudden you have 2FA. You can say, I don't want to use this. Your choice. But again, better security. And passwords. Again, ask people, how many people use the same passwords for everything, or just with a slight change? And sometimes people are brave enough in a meeting to raise their hand. They usually only raise it halfway, but you have to think about, you have to have different passwords. Some of us have a gazillion accounts. Our brains are full of all the stuff that we've learned over the years, and passwords just don't jump out quickly at us anymore. So do you keep them in a 3-ring binder, an address book, or a password manager? If you're with it, you are using a password manager. And hackers can use word lists. They have the top 10,000 passwords, lists of all English words, names, dates, common substitutions like using a 0 for an O. I'd love to have everybody check their accounts, all of their email accounts at Have I Been Pawned, and see if your account has been compromised at the XYZ place that you don't use anymore or whatever. It's just an interesting thing to think to yourself, I should really change that password, and is the one that I used too easy? Use a VPN. It protects your internet traffic from the bad actors, and should use it definitely if you're out and about at Starbucks or McDonald's, the library, something like that. You should definitely use a VPN. I don't think I know of anybody who recommends a free one. Like I said, I use private internet access. Again, Jim Evans recommended that in 2015, and I've been using it since and very happy with it. So check it out. And I believe in keyboard shortcuts. They can help us do things so much faster than having to click here, go there, go a third place. And taking Microsoft Word versus Word Perfect, you can access things so much quicker in Word Perfect. Word adds extra keystrokes. And I date back to the DOS days when we had those sheets of paper glued, so to speak, to the top of our keyboards, because our keys did one thing, our F1, etc. keys did another. We had Shift and F1, Control F1, Alt F1. They all did different things. I have retained many keyboard shortcuts that I use for everything, and it just makes my computer experience go so much faster. And when you get this presentation, my shortcuts for everything but the kitchen sink are listed. I didn't want to take time to go through now. And so I am going to stop sharing. And let's see if anybody learned anything new. They have some suggestions on why in the world didn't you include this, because I find it fantastic, or whatever. Mike Ungerman, you're on.
Thank you for a great presentation, Judy. For this old dog, I learned a lot of new things. While you were presenting, I tried to look up the AP comparisons with my search in my browsers, and I couldn't find anything. Can you provide us with the link for that, either
Yes.
in chat or afterwards?
I have my resources behind everything at the end.
Okay, thank you very
And
much.
it's A-V. Try A-V comparatives,
Okay.
just for grins. Bill.
Yeah, I have tried VPNs several times, and I've been unsuccessful because they deny access to some of the sites that I want to go to. So I've had a problem with that. Can you address that issue? Is there a something that you can impart knowledge?
Can you share which ones you've tried?
None offhand.
Okay, I have never had that problem. The only problem I had was I was cutesy, and the first time I tried it, I was in Germany, and I thought, oh, how cool, I'm in Germany. And I had something to do with my Discover card, so I called them, and I said, blah, 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 and she said, well, this, for all intents and purposes, this really isn't you, because you're in Germany. And I kept saying, no, I'm sitting right here, in Canyon Country, blah, 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 blah. But no, she was seeing me with my VPN coming in from Germany. So strike number one. So then I thought, I will try Canada. That's not too far from me, north. And I searched for Bed Bath & Beyond in the valley here, and they gave me the Bed Bath & Beyonds from the western edge of Canada to the eastern. Now I'm in San Jose. I learned my lesson. I need to be in California. But so that's been my only negative twos. But I haven't had that happen to me. But that would be a question for Google. And when I ask Google a question, I type out the whole thing like I would be asking Steve Parker a question. And I figure Google's smart enough to pick out the words it needs instead of thinking of the phrases that you need to use, cull it down. I always get an answer.
I'll try that. Yeah, the one I have right now that's not up is Malwarebytes VPN. They have one that is very easy to use. It's either on or it's off. And has anybody used the Malwarebytes VPN?
Does that come with the paid version?
Yes.
Okay.
No, well, it's additional. It's an additional
Thing you pay for. Bob G, I saw you react to my VPN stuff. Do you have anything to share with us?
VPN, some places you don't want to use a VPN because they expect you to be in a certain place. And if your VPN IP address is not in the same place where you are, then they're going to balk, like the example Judy gave with her credit card. Your credit card should only be used close to home, unless you've notified them that you're on vacation. When I use a VPN, the first thing I do is notify my bank and say, I'm going to be in XYZ state. And then I look for an IP address that's in that same state. So I can use my VPN, but as far as the bank is concerned, okay, I already said I was going to be in that state. But if you're at home and you're using a VPN and the location you use isn't anywhere near home, your bank is going to balk. If you're trying to watch movies and you're located in California, but you're picking a VPN that's in Great Britain, they're not going to allow you to watch those movies. They have restrictions. Some places you can use a VPN to access things that you normally wouldn't. But if they are very strict, they'll block a VPN. The merchants and the companies have also gotten smarter. They know VPN addresses, okay, their IP addresses. And some of them will block all VPN used IP addresses. There is no way to get around that particular thing. But for most things, the VPN protects you to make sure that your information is encrypted and that they don't see your home IP address.
So
Yeah.
much for, so we had a pop-up and there's a couple of counties in your area, the libraries block anybody using a VPN, and they're doing it for security on their part. So there you go. So
Unfortunately, the bad guys also use VPNs to hide themselves when they do malicious things.
yeah, because theoretically, if you are saying you're in Germany and you don't have a Netflix account or something like that, you can come in as from Germany and you are allowed to use stuff that you normally couldn't use here in the United States. And I always hate to say that because that's not fair, but that's another part of it. We had a recommendation for NordVPN. I have had many recommendations that people use NordVPN. In fact, I say we're using Nord something or other, and I mentioned, have you tried NordVPN? And the guy got back to me and said, oh my gosh, thank you very much for telling me about that. I'm just passing the information on. That's not the one I use. Steve Parker, you're on.
In your collection of utilities, do you have any of the sysinternals? There's 3 in there that you should put in are Process Explorer, Auto Runs, and Process Monitor, rather.
Cool. Could you put that information in the chat box for everybody?
Yeah.
Could you put that information in the chat box for everybody?
Sure.
Thank you. And we just had somebody else pop up and say something in the chat box. Proton Mail. Oh, this is from Mike Ungerman. Proton Mail offers a free email account that comes with a free VPN. Both are limited but effective for more uses. So there you go. So those of you who are into Proton Mail and things like that, Opera, if you use Opera as a browser, before Opera was bought by somebody in China, it was a good VPN. Most people wouldn't use it with a 10-foot pole now. You know, there's a bias there. Drew. Oh, and by the way, some of you who were at the Sarasota group did hear the same thing and the same story over again, because I have overlapped. Drew, stop laughing. I have overlap in some of my presentations, and he's going to hassle me like he did with the other one he did.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to say anything bad.
Okay, you're on.
I've been personally a NordVPN customer for about 3 or 4 years. One of the reasons that I chose that one is it's a multi-platform VPN, meaning that you can use it on your cell phone, your tablets, your Windows computers, your Mac computers, your Linux computers. You can protect all of your devices. If you purchase a VPN that only runs on Windows, you can't protect your phone when you're at a public Wi-Fi hotspot. So that's another thing to consider when choosing a VPN, is that it works on all of your devices.
One thing that many people are particular about with their VPNs, that the entity has a statement that says if the DOJ or somebody comes asking us questions, we won't answer them. Private internet access is a US based. NordVPN is not US based. And that's why some of the people go with the non-US based. But if you're really picky about that kind of stuff, and I've dealt with the DOJ during the lawsuit, and people would come back that testified and they'd be like this. And I'd say, don't tell them my name. I don't want to go back there. But so that's a consideration with the VPN that you choose, either offshore, onshore, but look for that statement. Bob.
Fast One also offers a VPN as part of the product. Even in their free version, you have a VPN, and they have a limit of 5 gigabytes per week. For most people, that's more than they'll ever use.
Oh, one more tip about VPNs. The NordVPN program just came out with a technology called MeshNet networking. And in simple terms, what it does is it lets you route all your traffic through a particular computer. So if you leave a computer on in your house and you travel international, NordVPN now allows you to, from any internet site anywhere in the world, route all of your internet traffic through your PC back in your house in the United States, so that the traffic that's coming from your VPN really is in the United States.
Cool. And there is a question in the chat box. And if you are using a VPN, if you do not use a VPN, your IP address is out in the wild, somebody can take that IP address and find out exactly where you live. And then they can go to Google Maps and get a picture of your house and directions on how to get there. If you are using a VPN, it is encrypted, and your IP address does not show. A bogus one, like me being in Germany, said she's not really in Candy Country, she's in Germany. So that's the answer to your question that popped up. Stephen.
Yeah, just one quick point. Probably everybody knows this, but if your backup cloud is Amazon Cloud, forget it. They're going away. I think it's either next month, I think it's in November or December. But even though they've raised the price for Amazon Prime, they're taking away the cloud. So move all of your cloud items to another cloud. The other question I have, do you know anything about refer control? This is a Google thing, and it prevents me sometimes from going to a virtual conference, and I have to switch to Edge in order to get in. So it's not a Microsoft thing, it's a Google thing, but it is just confusing. I've tried to look it up, I've tried to read about it. I cannot figure out what the hell is going on with that.
I can't answer that because Edge is my main browser.
Okay.
Can anybody answer that?
I can sympathize with them, because I have sometimes that I have to use Edge because Google Chrome will not work.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Tech Vicina Live on Thursday, for instance, I can't get my picture to show. Certain things don't work unless I'm using Edge, and I have to go one step further. I need to use the private, or the one that hides things in Edge, in order to actually use the program. So I don't know what it is. I might have something on my computer. It might just be Chrome itself that's doing it, but I can't use Chrome.
Isn't that interesting? Because there's two of you.
Yep.
Any other questions? At this point on a Wednesday workshop, I would say, John Kennedy, take us away. But if there are no further questions and you don't do anything after your presentation, are we good to go? Over to Stan. Huey, is Stan with us?
I'm not sure. I think so.
He was for a while, but he's not. Yes, he is. But he's muted. Okay, so Huey, over to
Yep.
you. No more questions? You want to take us off unless you do something after your presentation? My
No,
presentation?
That's it. Thank you for a great presentation. You held the people well. And thank you, everybody, for staying with us. And we'll see you next month.